All right, hey everybody, welcome to the Education of a Weaponized Man podcast. It's me, Greg LaBeouf, back with you. I have Coach Dustin with me. Coach Brad is away again this week. He'll be back next week. But listen, we're going to dive into a great topic tonight, guys. Listen, everyone understands, right? You should understand this. I don't care how well trained you are, right? Every single one of us, every warrior, from the greatest warrior, whatever, every one of us, we can lose our life in battle. We can physically be murdered. We can die. It happens, right? I don't care how good you are. That is the realities of violent assaults or combat, is that we can die. So the body has physical limitations. I don't care how good your strategies, tactics, and tools are, how great your attributes are. There are limitations. There are odds that we cannot overcome. We say this all the time. There are situations that are not winnable. They're not winnable. If you're fucking lucky, it takes everything you got. They just may be survivable. Okay? So, having said that, and having acknowledged the physical limitations, tonight we're going to talk about the power of the mind. Tonight we're going to talk about the unbeatable mindset, because that is what you have to develop. If you have any chance at all of surviving life and death altercations, especially a situation where you go, fuck this is not winnable, but just fucking maybe it's survivable, to even give yourself a chance, you have to understand and develop the unbeatable mindset. It's a deep topic, but tonight I'm going to share at least 3 of the core pillars of how you develop the unbeatable mindset. We're going to dive deep on this tonight. Stick with me, everybody. Going to be a great one. Back in 30 seconds. Hey, everybody. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Greg LaBeouf, and I'm sharing insights for how I went from the victim of a brutal attempted murder to weaponizing my mind and body, mastering the tool of violence so that I can protect myself and my family from violent criminal assault, and how for the past 30 years, I've been helping good people just like you do the same. Welcome to the Education of a Weaponized Man podcast. Okay, we're back. All right, we're talking about the unbeatable mindset. So hopefully I made it clear, right? Listen, there's kind of a quote, and I'm just going to paraphrase it. It's actually part of a much larger mantra. A very old warrior mantra that was heavily used in the Philippines. But part of it says that although my body can fall in combat, right? And there's different iterations of this. Although I may lose my life in combat, although I may fall to you in combat. So the general theme, right? You may defeat me. You may murder me. You may kill me. I may die. But although I lose my life to you in combat, you have not won. Because even though the physical body has fallen, my fighting spirit is unconquerable. Okay? Now, the gist of that means what? You have to accept that we can die. You can do everything right and you can still lose your life. Yet, if you focus in on how fragile the human body is, and because in some ways it's like an egg, right? In some ways, if you push from the side, you're going to crack it with almost no effort. The body is not. The body can be destroyed with a fair amount of ease. Yet, if you push the egg top to bottom, like the human body, in some ways we are so fucking durable. I mean, how many times have we heard of human beings, absorbing 10, 15 rounds, shot 10 times, blown up and explode, whatever, and just refusing to fucking die? Right? And some of them come through that and recover almost or back to 100%. So life is fragile. In combat, we have to accept as warriors that we can die, we can lose our lives. But we must separate that from the mindset. You have to accept the reality, but you also have to understand that you have to have this unbeatable mindset. Because what do we do in situations where we go, fuck, this isn't winnable? And right away, there's an angle somebody could take on this and say, well, that right off the bat is a negative mindset. And I completely understand that. We're trying to separate things here, right? I don't want to split hairs, but we need to separate a few things. I actually personally think that it is very powerful when we run scenarios, when we mentally prepare, when you look at situations that you go, this is not winnable, but it is survivable. I think that context has power, because what it forces me to do and why I like it is because, well, this is going to be one of our concepts, but it forces me to reframe things. reframe my beliefs, reframe my perceptions. And that's some of what I want to get into. So I'm just going to let Dustin, I'd like to let you kind of just jump in on, because again, you guys never know the topic. I always want your visceral opinion of this. So with everything I've said so far, what springs to your mind based off your experience and perceptions?
I often have a notepad and paper with me when we podcast
Yeah.
to jot down ideas, and I probably never needed one more than tonight, and I didn't bring it because
Yeah. Hey, if you don't
as you were
bring it to
just
the podcast, it never makes it to the podcast.
I know.
Warrior's got to have his
So
tools.
just because as you were talking, I get like, oh this, and then it's like, okay, what were all those?
Yeah.
But so, and it's just like, because I don't want to jump just randomly, crazily around,
Yeah.
but like, because yeah, so many things were popping into my head, kind of as you went through that intro of all of it, and yeah, so like, where even to start with it, because yeah, there was so many, but I guess part of it like is just when you talked about like that unwinnable but still survivable. I think like one thing that hit me just as more of a side note, but right away one thing I thought of was like how that same concept that you can take from combat, from violence, how it applies to your everyday life, because I use it all the time in the sense of like that type of mindset allows you to avoid self-pity. And so what I mean is kind of like when problems come up, it's so much easier to just accept that problem. We talked a few weeks ago about like I gave the example of like the improv comedians
Yeah.
and how they just accept whatever's happening to them. And I think that mindset, that's part of it. So you have a problem pop up at work, whatever, at your house, doesn't matter. Problem comes up, and instead of being like, oh man, like, why did this have to happen? Like, why me? Like that whole pity party thing. It's like when you have that unbeatable mind, like, yeah, okay, like problems are gonna come up, but that's not gonna stop me.
Mhm.
It's that whole like when life gives you lemons, make lemonade type thing. It's like, what else you got? Like, just bring it on. Like, that's my problem, no problem. What are my mission commands to meet these mission demands that are in front of me? And you can kind of just keep charging forward. So, I think all of that comes from that same mindset you're talking about, but outside of combat and violence.
100% it does. And again, I always love that we're building bridges because the core concepts apply to every aspect of your life. They're immutable concepts. It's gravity, right? Gravity applies to us all. So what the immutable concepts that exist in combat and allow us to not just survive but thrive are the same concepts that are going to allow us not just to survive but to thrive in life, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
let's do this because this is a deep subject. I'm going to be the first person to state it right here from the beginning that there is no way for us to go through all of the points of this. There's no way to go through all of the drills and all of the stuff that we do to help build this because it is a process. And if you work the process works. What I do want to do though is I wanted to put a spotlight on this tonight, right? And because again, control only ever follows awareness. So understand that you are working to develop an unbeatable mindset. That is the complement to your strategies, tactics, and tools. And now I'll just one step further. Sorry, and then I'll finish with that. I am going to share 3 core pillars of this process. Okay, much more, but I want 3 core pillars out there. Now, again, I say it because the physical has to be separated from the mental. Because if I was to say that I'm going to teach you unbeatable strategies, tactics, and tools, what I'm saying is that I'll show you strategy and tactics and tools that guarantee you can never die in combat. You'll never lose in combat. You'll never lose in a violent assault. Well, we all know that's not true. We all know that is just not true. Okay, there's always the chance of losing. But do you and can you recognize that you can develop a mindset? Meaning what? Meaning that we can develop the beliefs, we can develop the perceptions that will allow us in that crisis to never be defeated in our minds, to stay mentally tough, to have that mindset that is the epitome of everything you just said, right? To keep driving forward, to stay focused, to all of this different stuff. And I wanted to just kind of put because number one, let's just jump right in. Number one is this: you have to set a North Star. Okay, you have to set a North Star, and a North Star is what? I want you to think about those difficult moments. Reflect back and think about a difficult moment that you had. Now, it might not be a moment of life and death, might not be a combat moment, But there are some powerful moments in our lives. Obviously, we've all had them. We all face them. Whatever those struggles are. In those really hard moments, your North Star is that quiet voice or that voice inside your head that is whispering you and guiding you. That's your North Star. It comes out in your most difficult moments. And so what I'm saying is that when it comes to defending ourselves or weaponizing and preparing ourselves for a life and death altercation, to have an unbeatable mindset, you need to develop a North Star. Okay, meaning you have to write down what your goals are. So let me put it this way: what is your big goal? Most people get the now North Star, right? I'm lost now. I'm going to find the North Star. That's my reference point, and I'm going to navigate off the North Star, and then everything's related to that. So what is the big goal? Now let me share just a couple of examples, and I'm going to try to make them just simple but stark so that people can follow along with this. Imagine for a second if you had two guys, and the first guy, his goal is to kick the ever-loving shit out of anybody who ever threatens him and his family. I'm going to physically destroy them. I'm going to beat the ever-loving shit out of them. If you're a threat to me, I'm going to fucking destroy you. Okay? Now, from one aspect of that, I get that. I understand that. And you go, well, that's not a bad goal, is it? Okay. But maybe let me give you a contrast of another goal. The second individual, his North Star goal is this: I will make it home to my fucking family. / I will get my fucking family home. If I face a threat to my life, the life of my family's, I will fucking make it home. I am getting home to my kids tonight, or I will get my family fucking back home. Now, those are two different goals. We can see where they're related. You can look at it from one angle and think both are good goals to have. I get it. But in the context that we're speaking about, in developing unbeatable mindset, your North Star is the quiet voice, or the voice. It might not be quiet. Hopefully it's loud and strong, but it is the voice that is whispering to you in the darkest fucking moments, the most critical moments, telling you what to do. It is guiding you. So now all of a sudden we are in a life and death situation. And all of a sudden there's a decision point. I could do A or I can do B. Now A and B, right, might both help you achieve your end goal, but A puts you at far greater risk, making it maybe less likely that you achieve your end goal, which is what? Well, of course we all want to survive. That's the end goal, correct? But if I'm like, my North Star is I'm going to fucking kick the shit out of anybody that fucks with me or my family, anybody that's a threat to me, I am going to fucking destroy them. I am going to beat them down like a fucking rented mule. If that is your North Star, in that moment where potentially you have the opportunity, you've relayed some injury, you've created a gap, a moment in time where you can take that gap and you can get the fuck out of there. You can get your family out of there. You can remove yourself from that situation and gain safety. But your North Star is whispering to you, what did you say? What's your North Star? What do you do in this dark, critical moment? What do you do in this? Fucking destroy that guy. Go after him. So you do. But it fucking mutates. The second guy, the third guy that you didn't see with the tire iron, the knife that you didn't recognize, and all of a sudden you got a knife shoved into your chest, or through your neck, or through your eye socket, or through your temple. Right? You get a tire iron to the base of the fucking skull. And you're lucky enough to live, but you're fucking quadriplegic for the rest of your life. Versus the goal in the B side where you're saying, my whole thing is I will make it home to my fucking kids. I will get my family home. And so hopefully the contrast in that you can see where in that moment when you're like, well, what do I do? What's the North Star? And so you take that gap that you created. Everything you did up until that point is the equal killer instinct and viciousness and ruthlessness because it was necessary. You relayed the injury, but the second you had the gap, your North Star was different. And so you removed yourself from that situation. Now, again, we could what if this from every possible angle. I'm just trying to give contrast of the first thing of this unbeatable mindset is what is your North Star? And that's got to be what we call create a stand. Like set your stand. Like what is your stand? What is it you are saying you genuinely fucking want? Why do we weaponize? If I asked you, Dustin, why do you weaponize? What's the simple, in the context of what we're talking about, why do you weaponize?
To get home to my wife and kids, or to get them
Exactly.
home.
And
Exactly
here's the
what you.
thing. I knew you'd say that. And you're not just repeating what I said. I knew you'd say that
No.
because that's your stand. Because we've had many conversations about it. We've run this. That is your North Star. Now, do you think for an instant that impacts decisions, tough decisions that need to be made at a fraction of a second notice with imperfect information? Does that impact you at all?
Oh, 100%. 100%. And also it's like in a critical moment, every single decision you make, every action you take has to be pushing you towards your goal with as little risk as possible. And in like that scenario you just described, and you mentioned risk, so I'm really just reiterating it, but it's like if every single decision I make and action I take is to try to get me home, then it's always worth the risk. It's like, well, was it worth it to do that? Well, yeah, because by doing that, there was a chance I was going to get home.
Yeah.
Whereas when you look at that first scenario described, it's like there's so many decisions and actions you're going to make and take to try to bring about the downfall of this other person, this violent criminal. And it's like, yeah, but you didn't have to do that. You didn't have to destroy that person to get home safely. That was like this external separate goal. And so to me, it's like, that doesn't make any sense because now it's not worth the risk. Like, yeah, you may achieve that goal, but if you don't, it costs you everything. So to me, it's very much about how much risk comes at, like at what cost do all your actions come at? So I think that's where that North Star can really simplify, like, is this smart or not smart? Well, does it align with your North Star, and does your North Star minimize risk in critical moments?
Oh, I love it. I love that you went through the whole risk side of it and stuff. I'm actually just going to read you something, and this is out of our workbook, The Way of the Protector. This is where we talk about our core. This is where we go through this process. It's one of the tools we use. But as protectors, if you want to weaponize and truly take on the responsibility of being your family's protector, then you have to live in full awareness. So we live in full awareness of our stand. Then we can face fear with courage. Fear is natural, something to be faced and understood, not to be avoided. Finding the courage to act in the presence of fear is the way of the weaponized man. And then it's like our stand is a set of core beliefs. Your stand will answer the question, what would I do? And your purpose will answer the question, why am I here? So what will I do? That is exactly what you just talked about. What am I going to do? And you talked about it beautifully from the place of risk assessment. And how much risk do I want to take on? Well, what is your North Star? Because in that moment, what are you going to do? What is your stand? But we need to live in full awareness of what our stand is. Okay, so I think with that part of it, because these are all interconnected, by the way, the three pillars that I'm going to share with people, they're all interconnected. So you can't separate them. They're all going to merge. But that to me is the first one, is to find your North Star. Now, create your stand. So you got to be able to answer the question, what would I do? Okay. The second part of that is find your why. So what would I do? And then why would I do it? Okay. And I have, just for me, it is important because why I do it, why do I weaponize? And again, I've asked you, like, why do you weaponize? Well, it's to get home to my family, to bring my family home safe. Then it seems obvious, but the why. That's your stand. But why? Why do you do that? What's your motivation to do
like
that?
it's the deeper why behind it. And it's like, well, why? Why do I want to get home to my kids? Because for me, like, to the core, it's like, I will not let somebody else make the decision to make my kids orphans. Yeah. Like, for me, that one hits me every time. Yeah, like, that's how much I feel that. Like, I can't even talk about that without getting emotional, because that is my core identity. Like, that's what it's all about. And so, yeah, like, anytime I talk, I've talked about it lots over the years, and anytime I do, it always hits me the same way, because that's just how much that resonates with me. And it's like, I mean, give me better motivational fuel than that. It's just, impossible.
Yeah. Yeah, and here's the thing that I'll throw in on the why as people are trying to figure it out. Your whys can be extrinsically motivated or intrinsically motivated, right? So extrinsically motivated is always powered by someone else's values, and it's not really powerful enough to drive you in these tough spots. So an example of externally being motivated, the why might be because I want everybody else to think I'm a fucking badass. Like, so
Yeah.
again, we go back to that first goal. What's your stand? My stand is that if somebody fucks with me or my family, I'm going to fucking beat them down. Nobody fucks with me. I'll show my kids what it is to be a fucking man. Fuck you and stuff like that. So you come back to, well, why? Why do you need to do that? Yeah, because that's what the role of a fucking man, and I'm going to show, I'm no fucking punk. I'm not a fucking pussy. Like, I'm going to show people you can't fuck with me. It's all extrinsic. There is, the power is not there. Not to the same degree of what you just expressed. And I have nothing to add to that because I know your stand, so I knew you were going to say because I know your stand, and I know your why behind it. And your why is intrinsically motivated. It is from the deepest of your core values. And that's why even trying to say it, articulate it, produces emotion. And we're emotional creatures. And you can feel the intensity, you can see it in you if you're watching this, you can hear it in your voice. Like it has the power to move mountains.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the power of the North Star. And
And
imagine
I
that.
think
Go ahead. Yeah.
it's just say, I think because it goes so much further than just words. And I think that's why we can connect to our deeper why so much is because we've put the work in.
Yeah.
It isn't just going like, oh yeah, like what motivates me? Oh yeah, oh totally, like my kids for sure. Yeah, of course, no, I don't want anyone to take me away from my kids. Yeah, totally. Like we've spent how many hours conversations like deep diving into ourselves, like our own core values and things like you alluded to, and it's like we've put in the time. So I think that's what allows that deeper connection and to not just simply be, oh yeah, just words. Like, oh yeah, no, I totally think this. It's like, well, do you really? Is that really what you think, or is that just what you think you should think, or what you want to think?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. The deep dive is super important, right? Because anybody can say the words, but to feel it and have really built that, to really have developed and clarified your stand and your North Star. Now, just because I gave the example of people would say extrinsic motivation, I want people to think I'm fucking tough. I don't want, I'm going to show people I'm not a pussy. The intrinsic motivation, the example of that is my life has value. Like my life is valued. It's worth protecting. And if we mirror that onto yours, not only do you deeply value your life, but you value the life of your family. You value your kid's life, your spouse's life. And this is, you don't contain this. I mean, for the most part, it spreads. Like you value life, you value human life. And for me, like, I'm not going to, because I share a lot of the same values you do for my why. And part of it for me, because of my experience too, was, and you touched on this, but you said, I don't want to let somebody else decide to make my kids an orphan. And that is very close to mine. And just that, like, I can't even put into words the emotional impact it has when somebody takes on the role of God, basically. You know what I mean? They play God. They decide who lives and who dies. Someone else is deciding. Some person with no morals and no values is deciding that you've taken they will take you off this planet. You know what I mean? Like it is, because I've been there. And so this intrinsic, and it really does come down to my life has value. The people we impact, our friends, our family, there's value to our life. There's value to our existence. And I don't know if enough people have really felt that and really connected to the fact that they have tremendous value on this planet. And if you weren't here, the world is a very different place without you in it. Despite the fact that there's billions of us, and you might think that you're going to be forgotten in a month or two or a year or two.
Yeah, all I was going to say is like, because you kind of hit the nail on the head, like again, to go even deeper on my why, it's like, just to clarify it for people, it's not like I don't want someone to make my kids orphans because I want to see my kids grow up. I want to be at my kids' weddings, my kids' graduations. Like, oh, of course I want all those things, but that's not even my main motivator. Mine is like, I don't want my kids to grow up without parents, without their dad, because I see that that's really important to them. So like you said, that's exactly it. My life has value, but not just to me. It's to them. And that for me is like, that's the deepest part of that why for me is because they need me, especially right now. Obviously there'll come a time where they need me less, unfortunately, but as of right now, they need me.
No, and I think we can push on from this after just rephrasing or restating, because Obviously we work with men predominantly, and we're not raised this way. We're not, our fathers don't plop us up on their lap at a young age and start telling us how valuable we are and how much meaning our life has and how valuable we are, because that, they were never raised that way. I mean, is it implied? Sure, maybe, hopefully, but not for everybody. But, implied and stated are two very different things. And so one of the things we do is really have to get men to understand and value their own lives. And it's deep work, but once you do that, it becomes the motivational fuel. And for me, I've seen it shape more North Stars for more warriors and keep them safe on the battlefield and allow them to, in fact, return home safe to their families and that kind of stuff. So you got to set a North Star, set your stand, create your why. Go ahead.
One last really quick point on that before we move on is, I think if you go back to that thing of like, oh, your father sits you on your knee and teaches you the ways of life, those two scenarios you described earlier, A and B, the external versus the internal, the people who got the on the knee speech, they got the A.
Yeah.
They got the you destroy anybody, you whatever. Like in our culture, society, that's what got passed on, not what we're talking about.
Yeah, 100%. And unfortunately, with a lot of bravado and a lot of bullshit and a lot of fucking a lot of paradigms that only set you up to fail because, be like John Wayne, be like Rambo, don't be a fucking pussy. And, that extrinsic motivation of look tough, is unfortunately does more damage than good, right? So, okay, so in the unbeatable mindset, you have to set your North Star, set your stand in those dark moments. It's the voice that's guiding you, telling you which way to go, what to do, and you got to live that, know that overtly. And the second part of this is change your fucking rules. Change the rules that you have surrounding your North Star, like your stand. So, for example, like I'm trying to keep it a connected theme here, but the example we gave in the North Star was I'm going to fucking destroy every motherfucker. If you look at me, I'm going to show him that a pussy, right? Well, what I'm saying the second part is change your fucking rules. We all have rules, right? Values and rules that we have created for ourselves. And most of the rules and values that we have set for ourselves do not fucking serve us. Not only do they not serve us, they fucking destroy us. So here's the example, right? Somebody that has set this goal of like, I will fucking destroy everybody. I'm a man. You don't fuck with me. I don't give a fuck. I'll be whatever it is. The rules you have are around winning and losing. And rules can look like, you fuck with me, I'll bust your fucking job. Like you're never going to lay a hand on me. So someone has set a rule that they're not even fully aware of, that if you get hit, if you take any damage, if you lose a tooth, if you get a black eye, anything like that, you fucking failed. So a person can actually win, quote unquote, a fight and still feel as if they've lost, right? They feel as if they've lost. And this is because you broke. So in public, everybody's holding their hand up and cheering and say, yeah, you won. But in your mind, you feel like a fucking loser. That's because you've broken a rule that you had. And you might not even know that you have that rule, but you've broken that fucking rule. And therefore, you feel like a fucking loser. Doesn't matter how much glory, medals, money, or fame, or what result you achieved, you can feel like a failure even though you have, to everybody else's vantage point, succeeded. Right? And we see this all the fucking time in life. People get a promotion, but they didn't, but I needed the promotion and I needed my boss to announce it company-wide. But they didn't do that. They just called me in the office and gave me the promotion and the corner desk and the 50% bump in pay. And they did all that, but they didn't publicly give me my accolades that I need. And so how do I know that they really appreciate me? Because my rule is that if somebody appreciated me, they announce it publicly. They walk around singing my praises to everybody. But that didn't happen. So you got a guy who gets the promotion, gets all the shit, but didn't get but he didn't fulfill his rule. And he doesn't even know that it's one of his rules. He doesn't know that he needs that. So he feels like a fucking loser. And then all of a sudden he starts drinking more. He's arguing with his wife more. I'm just trying to paint the picture here. But you have to change the fucking rules that you have around winning or losing or achieving your goal. So let's use our example. My goal is to get home. Your goal is to get home. Get home to our families or get our families home safely. Now, if you did that, if any part of that required you to run away.
That's funny. I was literally going to ask you the exact same question. Pick any scenario, imminent grievous bodily harm potentially in front of you. So you turn around and run away. Like, do you have any problem with that, Greg?
Yep.
I know your answer because I know my answer. Like, not one, not a single problem with that.
Not only do I
I
not have
will
a problem
turn
with that,
and run.
I'm planning on it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's,
Exactly.
yeah. Yeah.
The only reason I do this is I'm not a fast enough runner.
Agreed. I'm the same way. And that's exactly what I'm talking about. But if we had not done the work to suss out hidden conflicting beliefs that could lie deep inside of us, because as a young boy, and when I started going to school and you experienced the bullying in whatever form, your dad said, listen, you got to stand up to it, but don't ever back down from somebody. You back down, they're always going to be punking you. You can't look like, you can't be a little bitch. Like, you got to this or that. Whatever form that advice came into, don't ever fucking back down. They'll be bullying your whole fucking life. You stand up to these guys. I don't give a fuck. I don't care if you get a beating. You don't back down from bullies. You don't run away. You don't this. You don't hide. All that stuff. Now, I get what they're saying. I get what the message is. And is there some truth to that? Of course there is. But let's put it in context. Would you tell your 70-pound son who is being confronted by three individuals that each outweigh him by 80 pounds plus, who are 3-4 years older than him, carrying out, don't ever back down. I don't care if you take a beating. Those guys will keep coming at you if you don't ever back down. No, dumbass. You tell him to get the fuck out of there. You tell him to run for his fucking life. You tell him if he can't run, he needs to fight their dollar shit, but you tell him to get the fuck out of there. You tell him to be on the lookout, to avoid all this shit, right? Why? Because this image people have in their head of, listen, part of being a man is taking a good beating. This isn't about taking a beating. This is about people murdering you and beating you to death. You get and we could go off on that whole thing, but this is the rules. And the rules we have surrounding our North Star is to get home. I will get home. So I have no rules. Now, people could look at it and say, so you'd run? You're fucking right, I'd run. I would run. I'd get my family to run. I'd pick my family up and fucking run with them on my back. If that's what was going to save us, that's exactly what I'm going to do, because at the end of the day, mission accomplished. Right? And again, what is the little voice in your head telling you to do? I don't have a worry of my daughter or my wife or my peers or my friends or even strangers going, what a fucking pussy. What example did you just set for your kids? Hashtag choose safety first. That's what's one. Say, fuck that, you just showed them hashtag be a fucking pussy. Hashtag, I don't care what you say. I don't care. I've accomplished my North Star. I have my stand and I have my intrinsic motivation, which is my life has value and I protected it. My motivation, my why, was not, I got to prove how tough I am. My life has way more value than the image of toughness. So at 22, you're perceived as a badass. What about at 82? No, but when I was in my 20s, so you had a 10-year window, a 5-year window, you had a 20-year window where you were the baddest guy on the block. Whatever. So when you turn 44 and the young 20, you know what I mean? What a waste of life. That extrinsic motivation doesn't have the fuel. It doesn't have the staying power. Okay, so we have to do the work and say, well, what are the rules that I have unconsciously set for myself? Because those will conflict. If they're not aligned, you won't do. Your North Star will tell you, do this. Your why will fuel that, your stand. And then the rules will either cause you to not do it, to not follow the North Star. And what happens if you don't follow the North Star? You get lost. Or you'll do it, you'll follow the North Star, and then you will destroy yourself internally after. You'll become toxic, corrosive, and septic because you didn't act you're like, what a pussy, you will destroy yourself from the inside out. Because we're only as sick as our secrets. And if you secretly feel like you were a pussy, you secretly feel like you didn't do this or that or whatever, you broke one of your rules. That's what's driving that behavior. So the second thing around the North Star the second thing about building the unbeatable mindset is to change the rules. And I've seen this in guys, and I'm just going to use, again, I have met guys that believe they cannot ever tap out, guys that they can never back down, they can never get hit, they can never make a mistake. There's all of these crazy fucking rules that they don't even know they have, but it impacts how they train, and it impacts what it's like to train with them. They won't take risk. They won't embrace failure. They won't put themselves in vulnerable positions. They don't want to go first. They don't want to try because their rules are, I got to look good. You know how many guys we come across that don't start training because before they start training, they got to get good at fighting. Mm-hmm. It's like, I totally want to do this, but I got to get, it's like saying, I want to get stronger and lose weight, but I got to get in shape first before I can start any real program. And it's like, I don't understand what you're saying. Mm-hmm. I want to learn to weaponize, be able to protect my family, but I figured that I better go and start taking, 5-6 years of boxing, maybe do some ground, it's like, what? I don't, and then of course they never start because they have rules. You got to be great to start, but you don't have to be start to great. You don't have to be great to start. You got to start to get great. So, but those are just all the bullshit rules that we have surrounding this whole thing.
Same with in training, the rules of going back to the guy who's got that never back down mentality. You're trying to get that guy educated, weaponized, and it's like he's doing nothing but take risk because he's afraid to back down. He's afraid to step backwards at the right time, in the right way, because of a strategy, because of a tactic, and they just can't do it. They won't do it because it goes against that rule of this person's smaller than me, whatever. I'm bigger, I'm stronger. I cannot not go forward. Yeah. Well, you're gonna take a lot longer to get better when you have a rule like that.
Yeah, I'll share a quick story because it absolutely pertains to this. I was this is when I was younger, and I was at a festival in BC. Many of you might know it's called Peach Fest, and it gets crazy. And we're standing on the beach. There's thousands of people crammed on this beach, and half in the water, half out. And there's this really big guy, a group of these guys, and they were all pretty big guys. This one guy in particular had to be 6'6", 6'7". And there's this little guy. He was, 5'7", 5'6", 5'7". So by comparison, for sure, he's little compared to this guy. And this guy, the little guy, was pretty intoxicated, and he was being very aggressive, very inappropriate. The group, the bigger guy with his buddies was not even looking at him, minding his own business. And this guy walked up and obviously took offense to how big this guy was or tall he was, whatever it was. He was just looking for an excuse. And he wound up and he hit the guy with a fucking bottle. Now, luckily, the little guy at the bottle was intoxicated. He wasn't, super intoxicated, but he was just drunk enough that he didn't get him on the back of the head where he was aiming, and he caught him in the back of the shoulder blade, partially because the guy was that tall and that big. And the guy turned around, and the guy, of course, was like, "What the fuck, man?" And this guy didn't miss a beat, swinging at him. He had dropped the bottle at this point in the water, but was swinging at him again, not like a drunk where he was falling over. He had the capacity and capability to be very dangerous because he was swinging wild. And the big guy, in defense of himself, you could tell, he had some sort of training, it looked like just kind of a boxer type guy, just nailed him with a straight jab. The guy fell back into the water, and the guy's like, "It's done," walked the fuck away, and kind of went to back up himself. This guy jumped back up, and people standing around, one guy in particular yelled, "Are you going to take that shit from that guy?" And the guy looked at him. And was like, "Fuck no." And he's like, "That's right. You get back in there." And so the guy went at him again. And the big guy's, "Don't, man." Smacked him, guy, pop, pop, hit him 2 times. Now, this guy's bleeding. He's lost a couple teeth. He's back in the water. He gets up. He starts to walk out of the water. And that same guy again, "Don't fucking take that bullshit. Yeah, where's your fucking pride? Get back in there." This cycle went on 5-6 times. And each time he went back to the big guy's like, "Dude, stop. You shut the fuck up." Pop, 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 pop. More damage, more destruction. This guy guaranteed shattered his orbital bones. This guy's eye was shut. This guy was cut. This guy would have needed, at best guess, at least 50 stitches to close up his fucking face. He had enough alcohol in him that he wasn't even aware how fucking injured he was. He was injured. And my point with this is that guy that kept yelling at him, "Don't fucking back down." Of course, he thought it was funny as fuck. But that guy was the representation of people's North Star and the rules that you have. Doesn't matter if you take a beating, get the fuck back up, show some pride, be a fucking man. You know what I mean? And it's like, and that's exactly what we're talking about in these types of situations. If you have these rules, if you have these extrinsic whys, if you have a posturing based North Star, it's talking to you. It's guiding your decisions, right? And if it doesn't serve, it'll get you fucking killed. It could have got this guy killed. I mean, eventually the big guy just walked away, and he was for sure pulling his punches. He could have killed this guy. So, just kind of give you an example. I've seen this, and we've worked with a lot of men that have come in that, like you said, Dustin, I can't get them to let go. I can't get them to let go of their rules. I can't get them to reevaluate their North Star. And I should say, it's not that I can't get them to. Oftentimes, it's difficult to get them to do it within a time frame where they'll continue to keep training. Because when you consistently challenge them and show them why and how this is going to put them in a bad position, you're putting irrefutable evidence in front of them, put them into scenarios, challenge them with different things. And clearly how they're thinking, their perception and what's guiding their actions is causing them pain. It's getting them into trouble. And you're showing them in no uncertain terms, this could lead to your ultimate death. This will kill you. This will destroy you. And yet they cannot let go of their paradigm, or they quit. Eventually, it begins to sink in. But that's a process. And most of that is because of the previous experience people have had. What's the previous conditioning? What's your experience base? And that is what really determines how deep people are in that. Okay, I was in it. I had traditional martial arts and combative sport training. It took my instructors and mentors almost 2 years. I felt like it was a 2-year process. They made a lot of gains before 2 years. But for me to completely be free of it, no longer controlled by it at all, like zero influence of it, was about 2 years. And so I understand that process intimately, and we, of course, subject people to it because it has to switch. You have to free yourself from that, okay? Because that, again, is a massive part of developing the unbeatable mindset. Now, let's throw in the last piece, and then I want to really clarify and make sure people understand how this is all building an unbeatable mindset. And here's the final piece, and it's very simple and it's very quick. We'll unpack it a bit, but divorce yourself from the result. So let me backtrack. We set a North Star. What's the North Star? Well, what's your ultimate goal? Goal being, I need to get home to my kids and I will get my family home safe. That's my fucking goal. What's your why? Because my life has value. Okay? Change the fucking rules. Listen, I can take damage. I can take hits. I know I can die. I can fail. I can make mistakes and I can do things right. I understand it all. But at the end of the day, whatever gets me home to my family, whatever it is I need to do, I don't care what it is, that is my rule. There are no rules. Get home to your family. My North Star guides me. If I have to run, I will run. If I have to there is no such a thing as cheating when there are no rules. But if I have to, quote unquote, play dirty, fight dirty, cheat, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. This is violence. There are no fucking rules. Okay, so I will do any of it. And people say, oh, there's no honor in what you did. There's no honor in being murdered. There's no fucking honor in being murdered. You know what I mean? The honor is in saving yourself and surviving. So I will cheat, I'll do whatever. So change the fucking rules. And the last one I would say, divorce yourself from the result. Here's why. When people are fixated on a result, that often causes what we call high stress. Having a big result and saying, well, isn't your goal the result? Yes, the goal is my North Star. But then when I find myself in a situation, I am divorced from that. I am not thinking, got to get home, got to get home, got to get home. I've changed the rules. I have my goal, but I divorce myself from the result. And you mentioned this earlier. In that moment, there is only the demands of the situation and what I am doing. What command am I executing right now? If I am not preoccupied or obsessed with the end goal, there is only what can I do right now? And that is directed by what's going to get me home the quickest. What's going to give me the best odds of making it home? What are going to give me the best odds of getting my family home safe? Right? There is that command is what's next? What's next? What's step 1? What's 2? What's 3? What's 4? I am not connected to the end result. Because what'll happen is if you focus on the end result of like, well, I got to get home. There is so much uncertainty between where you're at in that moment and getting home that your mind will start fucking with you. Because it's pressure. It's like if you got, let's say, a top athlete, if you got a Michael Jordan and you watch him in an exhibition game, means a mean nothing fucking game. First quarter exhibition game, first exhibition game of the season, and you watch how he's playing, you look at what his mindset is, you will find zero difference between the first preseason game, nothing game, first quarter, and him in the final quarter of the 7th game of the final series. You get what I mean? He doesn't think, his mindset is the same. He has the same unbeatable mindset. He is not distracted by his goal, which has always been his goal, which was to win titles. His goal was to win, to be dominant, and it wasn't to win personal titles. It wasn't to win the top scorer. It wasn't to be the MVP. It was to win as a team, to win the championships. Like, to get, what I mean? Like that's again. So his why was not was not extrinsic. I want people to see me as the best player in the world, acknowledge that I'm the best player in the world. It was intrinsic. I want to win. At the end of the day, I fucking want to win. And so that there was a standard that influenced everybody that was around him. But the point being, in the moment of the game, he's divorced himself from the end result. He knows that if he does what are the demands of the game right in front of him, right now, in this moment, what's the command? What do I need to fucking do? Is it run? Is it dribble? Is it shoot? Is it pass? What do I need to fucking do? Is it stall? What do I need to do? He knew that if he just stayed in the moment and just did what are the mission demands, what are the mission commands, and executed on those with 100% faith and certainty, the result would take care of itself. Imagine trying to defend your life so you can get home to your family. Imagine trying to protect your family when you are focused on the result. And when you're focused on the result, the uncertainty that surrounds it, because it ain't there yet. You don't know if you're going to make it home. You don't know if you're going to get them home safe. If you focus on that uncertainty breeds fear, and it's the type of fear that fucking paralyzes you because it comes with expectations you can't manage. You can manage your expectation in the moment. Here's the demand, here's my command. I can do this. I do this, and if I just keep doing this and just do this to this to this, the result is inevitable. So I can be divorced from it. I set it and fucking forget it. You set it, you build all the subcontext that we're talking about, and then you don't ever actually have to worry about it in that moment. It's just mission demands, mission commands. Does that track, or can you add something to that, Dustin, to help, expand that?
Yeah. Well, how about just an analogy once again?
Please do.
Just outside of violence to maybe help people understand divorcing yourself from the result. And I think we've even used the exact analogy before, but like, let's look at, somebody who wants to lose weight. So you can have the person whose goal is like, I want to drop 20 pounds, and they're going to struggle and struggle and struggle, versus the person whose goal is, I'm going to exercise 6 days a week and I'm going to eat perfectly healthy 7 days a week. Who's going to be more successful? The person that reaches the goal of, I want to lose weight, or the person who reaches the goal of, yep, never miss my workout 6 days a week, never miss eating healthy. I'm putting my money on the second guy, because that person isn't thinking about the goal of, I want to lose weight. Their goal is just every day.
Yeah.
I have to work out today. I have to eat healthy today. That's it. If I do that every single day, like you said, that result becomes inevitable. You can't not achieve it. But if you just get up every day and be like, hey, got to try and lose that 20 pounds, see how this goes. Like, I don't like your chances.
Yep, 100%. If we look back at this, because I want to be real clear, so let's hit it real quick. How is this an unbeatable mindset? My body may fall in combat. You may defeat me. But you have only defeated my physical being, for my fighting soul and spirit are unconquerable. Okay? Why? What's my North Star? To get home to my kids. Okay? Now, what are my rules around that? My rules are to do everything I can. There are no rules. Do what I can to get home to kids. What if I don't make it? What if I die? Like, now, obviously, if I'm dead, you say, well, then you got no worries because you're fucking dead. My point that I want you to extrapolate from this is that there is no guilt, because, like, I did everything. And here's what it is, because I've had these conversations with family. Like, my kids will know, like, I didn't fail. They won't ever view it as a failure. any of my clients, I'm the coach. I've been doing this for 30 years, right? I've always said this. If everyone that I've ever trained and that I currently train with, if they woke up tomorrow and found out that I was murdered and died in a violent assault, nobody's going to be like shocked, in the sense that, like, what? How did he die? How did they kill him? I thought he was good. Other people going, I knew that guy was a pussy. I knew his stuff was bullshit. It didn't fucking work. That's the same as saying you got a Navy SEAL, highly decorated Navy SEAL, steps on the battlefield, puts 1 foot out of the Humvee and catches a bullet right in the fucking brain sack. And it dies. And then people would go, what a pussy. That guy was a total fucking pussy. Navy SEAL my ass. How did he pass training? Like, what a fucking joke it would be. Can you even imagine thinking that? Warriors die. Nobody would be shocked in the sense that, like, warriors die. We understand the reality of it. But here's what people would also know. Did the person that murdered me make me a victim? Did I become a victim to that person? No. I was targeted, and the person succeeded on destroying what they targeted. But they didn't make me a victim. And why? Because although my body may fall in combat, what is it you guys would know, my wife would know, my kids would know, my soul would know, meaning I'd rest comfortably, because they can't break the mindset, because they can't ever take from me what my North Star is. No different than if I have to run or get my family out and then run with my family and hide and run and hide and run and hide. When we get home, I will sleep like a fucking baby. I don't give a fuck how many strangers go, you're a coward and a fucking pussy. You're not a man. You're a fucking disgrace. I wouldn't train with you, and spitting on me and pissing on my doorstep. I wouldn't give a fuck. It wouldn't bother me at all. Why? Because I executed on my values. I made it home to my family. I protected what has value, and that's my fucking life. And it would be no different to me than if I had to fucking smash and grab and rip someone's eye out of their fucking head and stab 3 guys and cut them and do all this stuff. And people are down and people going, you're such a hero. Oh my God. It was captured on video and I couldn't believe the level of violence. And oh my God, who are you, John Wick? Like, that is fucking meaningless bullshit too. Because I don't give a fuck about it. My external motivation is not, my mindset is not connected to praise. It's not powered by other people's opinions. So equally both ways, those are irrelevant. And that's an unbeatable fucking mindset, right? And the final thing is you divorce yourself from that result so that you can obtain this. So I hope people that they can kind of see, these are just 3 of the pillars. There is more, and they are interconnected. And there is a process by which you need to work this, to develop this. But hopefully people can understand that it's like, holy fuck, man, listen, like, how powerful it is. Yes, work your strategies, tactics, and tools. Work, develop, and consistently try to improve upon your attributes, right? Your health, your condition, your speed, your timing, your spatial awareness, your body mechanics, your emotional content, placement accuracy, follow through, all of that stuff. Build, develop, sharpen, hone, alter as you move through life. Things change, grow, all that type of stuff. But at the end of the day, you better be developing an unbeatable mindset. Because when you find yourself in the face of a situation that you go, this is probably not winnable, but it just might be survivable if I have the unbeatable fucking mindset. So then you're not deterred, you're not daunted. And I'll just want to circle back to why I said I think that is important, is because it's not what you do when you know you can win. It's what you do when you know you can't win. It's like I always say, you want to know a happy person? It's the person that's happy when they have no fucking reason to be happy. And yet they're smiling. They care about other people. They're invested in something beyond themselves. Yet when you find out their circumstances of how they're living or what they're dealing with or what they're going through, and you just say, how the fuck have you not taken your own life? How have you not ended it all? How are you not the most bitter person on the fucking planet? Because they have an unbeatable mindset. No matter what life is throwing at them, they determine what they focus on and the meaning that they attach to it. That's an unbeatable mindset. And so although their body may fall in combat, although they may fall physically, suffer the hardships of life, you have only defeated or beaten down or deterred or submitted their physical body. Their fighting soul and spirit will always arise to the heavens, for that is unconquerable. That's the power of the unbeatable mindset. And I don't know if you have any other analogies or anything you want to throw in to kind of
No,
further.
I don't think so. Like, yeah, I mean, I love that, what you're talking about, the quote that you're essentially coming from the Warrior's Creed, like this.
Yeah.
I mean, I have that in my training space. Like, I love it. You summed it up excellent. So
Yeah.
nothing to add.
Okay. Awesome. All right. Well, let's wrap it up here today. Again, a big, deep concept. I'm trying to make sure that we're picking topics and subjects that I know, Dustin. Like we're scratching the surface in an hour. We're scratching the surface, and they're not easy things to convey directly. It often takes, coming at it from multiple angles. Obviously, this is a podcast. We're talking to each other. We've had many conversations, hours upon hours of conversations about this. It's challenging without the feedback of the audience to see which way we need to go and what analogies might help the breakthrough. But hopefully you guys can appreciate and understand that we are trying to go as deep as we possibly can. There are no fucking secrets when it comes to weaponizing, when it comes to protecting, defending, warriorship. It's shit and the shit you haven't learned yet. And that's it. And it's all a process. And we always say work the process because the process works. And the fact that you've now heard it and control follows awareness. And we will continue to have these conversations. We will continue to go deeper. We will continue to answer all the questions that are sent to us and do our very best to explain it to people and help people #choose safety. Which is kind of a thing that Tony Blauer says, just to kind of give credit to where he's kind of coined that and uses that in a lot of his personal protection programs. And Spear system is #choose safety. It's a great line, so I'll share that. And that's it. That is our goal here. So we'll wrap it there for tonight. Thanks everybody for listening and joining. As always, I'm going to ask you just to take the 90 seconds or less that it would take you to make sure that you like, follow, share, comment, wherever you get and listen to your podcasts. Don't forget, if you feel we're worthy of it, leave a 5-star rating. That helps us reach other good people just like you and help weaponize them against violent criminal assault, make the world safer for everybody. And that is it, guys. So until next time, please stay safe, stay weaponized. We're going to chat again soon, everybody.